Echo, turn off 36K basement. That thing shut off. We don't get a wind storm here. Hello, and welcome to the review of the Vanatoo T0 Plus, which is a set of speakers that was sent to me a long time ago, like over a year ago. They've been sitting in a box for over a year, and I apologize to Vanatoo. It's one of those, I don't want to blow the bell curve things. I know how good Vanatoo is. That's why it took me so long to review the Encore, the T1 Encore Pluses. So I delayed these. Also, in case you don't know, Pioneer did send me these Minisplits in exchange for a couple of promotions. And since it is the dead of winter, I figured that would be one of those times. So link to the description to Pioneer Minisplits. Just to give you an example of how that 36,000 BTU unit is working, I have my iota watt, which is hooked up into my electrical panel. Since October 31st, and this has been on heat, this has averaged, to warm this 2,800 square foot basement, to over there it says 70 degrees. It was 71 not too long ago. And it's 26 degrees outside. It has averaged 1,210 watts. 1,200 watts. Average. Obviously, we had some real cold bits. Like there, it's pumping almost 2,700 watts. It's drawing there. But these spikes are a little over 2,000 and the nulls are down. So just want to point out, Pioneer Minisplits, that isn't even that expensive a unit. Like I forget, $1,500, $1,800 for that to heat an entire unheated space. I mean, my electric bill, everyone loves to know this, is about $900. And I'd say 600 of that is for heating the house with all the Minisplits. But considering I was paying $900 for propane, and that was just to heat the upstairs and not down here, I'd say I'm getting off pretty good. Yeah, by the way, this is a 1,500 watt heater. So if you tried to heat the basement with this on full, it would actually use more power than that monster. What did I just drop? What is happening now? Okay. We gotta talk. Wallpaper available in the description. These. I've done the predecessors to these. I'm not sure if it was one or two sets. There was no, like the T1s was a T1, then the T1 Encore, then the T1 Encore Plus. And these are just a Plus. So the first upgrade that Vanatoo has done to their small micro monitors. I have still on the desk the iLoud MTMs, Mark IIs? No, you're the Mark 1s. The MTM Mark IIs I put up on my big desk upstairs. These are the Mark 1s. So it's like $800. The other ones are $800. They have room correction and all sorts of interesting advanced features. Other than not having room correction, these Vanatoos are probably some of the most advanced speakers you can purchase. And I'll show you why. I feel like I was wrong to cover her eyes. All right, well, here's the passive unit. We'll pick it up. We'll unplug temporarily the RJ60? 50? I think it's an RJ50. This is a 10-pin Category 7 cable. I don't even know what the hell it is. In other words, this is not just a networking cable. It's going from left to right to connect the two. This has two more contacts than a standard networking cable. So you will have to buy something special if you want to extend them farther than this goes, but it's a pretty long cable. That's the plug in the back. It says it's not a network jack. Don't plug a network jack in. You will damage something. This handle here isn't really a handle. What that is removable, so you can either sit them like this on a desk. Excuse the fingerprints, it's been a hot minute. So either sit in a desk like this so it's facing up slightly. As you can see, I have them elevated with these Audiophile yoga blocks. Soon to have something like that in a merch collection, although it'll probably be these cork ones and it'll probably be like expensive. But you get a 4-inch driver with I don't know if that's titanium. And then you get a 1-inch beautiful soft dome, and then you get a 4-inch passive radiator. And this could either be on the top, like so if you're doing that, and then the passive radiator shooting up. If you move the handle from here to here like I did, which just requires you to take out 2 screws, well, 4 screws essentially. If you move it, there's so much dust. From there to here, now it will stand up and point at you, or you can turn it this way, where the tweeter is in the bottom, and then do that, or do that. Well, no, you can't sit it like that. That would be bad. You'd have to have this here to hold it up, and then this would fire in the space under the speaker, which does weird, interesting things, but don't seem to work on my desk areas. So let's plug this back in, because this is the boring, simple speaker. By the way, these are $400. Before you go and click off, be like, oh, I don't want to spend $800 on the speakers. He goes, these are $400. So I just did a couple of speakers. I just did the Kanto Aura 4s, which are $400. And they're very good speakers. Hope the camera angle is good, by the way, because it's weird on this desk. I'm not used to where to point it. Wallpaper. Those of you with trigger warnings, please just make the window really small. You can still watch the review, but I'm going to look at the back of that one. All right, let's see. Let's see, how hard could this be to pick up and spin around? Oh, impossible. Fucking impossible. Implausible. Oh, it knocked over my panel. The base probably knocked over my panel. We'll fix that in a bit. You know what? We're just going to unplug it all. I'm sorry, Vanatoo. I have to unplug all your things. So, same fascia. Infrared receiver, because there is a remote. LED, which you can, I think you could adjust. That one blinks. The other one in the back we have to set. So same thing. Knob, which is your volume knob. But also, if you haven't watched one of these Vanatoo reviews, that's the everything knob. Don't fuck up the everything knob, because most knobs that don't have 1.2.3 written on them, and that's just like we're gonna learn what the 1.2. Oh, here it is. You know, I'm gonna put the cover back on, because I think once I put the cover back on, I can lay this on its face, because these drivers do not stick up past anything. Okay, let's play the operation game. That is so much shit in the smallest possible space. We have got the 24 volt, 2.5 amp input. We've got two other speaker, which is the 10 pin, not category 5 network cable. Don't plug it in here. Not network. We've got a subwoofer out, which does trigger a cutoff in these speakers. By default, 125 hertz and above, and then 125 hertz and below goes to the sub. However, there's settings we can change, which we'll get to, where you can have this though 80 hertz, or is it 85? It's either 80 or 85 hertz. So these will stay a little more robust and give less to that, but you got to change the setting. You got a light, which is very important, a pair prog button, which is very important, a switch, which determines if the knob is doing volume, treble, or bass, because you have options on the remote to do treble and bass adjustments. But you also want to, if you lose the remote, I'm not going to actually throw the remote, but whoo! You can still adjust bass and treble. You would simply go, this is volume, set the volume, then move it over to treble, set the treble, move it to bass, set the bass, and go back to volume, and then this will go back to adjusting volume. You get a USB, which you can use this just straight to a laptop. Here's my USB input. Boom! You get an analog 3.5 millimeter input, for those of you weirdos, and it did come with a ton of wires. I just don't know where any of them are. Like, we're lucky this review's even still able to be done. I didn't lose anything from it. And then my favorite connector of all the things ever is optical. This does also do Bluetooth, so you don't have to worry about that. If you're going to buy a set and just pair it to a Google Home or your phone or an Amazon Alexa, I don't want to say your name too much, you can just do that. Okay, not too bad. We got a lot of like weird symbols like Turv Rheinland. Didn't know that was there. Federal Way. The people who make this, I've met them. They're Americans, and they're English, and they're engineers, which is why the manual is both a blessing and a curse, because it's all written in completely understandable English, except when you get to the parts where they get real excited about the engineering in here, and all of a sudden you're like, oh God, dumb it down for me. It's fine. Okay. Before we go any further, sound. These win. These are winners. These are the fucking winners of the, like, I have a $500 budget. If you could afford to jump up to their T1 Encores, you do that. If you want to go Kanto Tox or something like that, you go that. There's edifiers, there's swans. And I didn't want to point out how big these are not small. Like, I was trying to figure out which speakers I was going to travel with. And this was an option. I could fit these sort of in a bit, but that is hugely deep. God, I need to, where's my... For anyone who doesn't have this is a little bit of advice. This is 99% rubbing alcohol. You can get a gallon of it on Amazon for like $30. And this is a microfiber towel, which they no longer sell, and I've been using them for a year, and they're the best. And it doesn't really affect finishes on anything. Don't clean your screen with it. I can do my phone screen because it's Gorilla Glass, and sometimes with a screen protector, it doesn't fucking matter. But anything with an anti-glare coating, alcohol bad, but anything without an anti-glare coating that's just like material, feel free to spritz the shit out of it. Also, it evaporates real fast. Just beeped. So that, you know, it just goes away. It's not like water and soap. So yeah, I clean all my stuff with basically rubbing alcohol in a spritz bottle. I don't understand why people don't have that available to them. So I think we have to hook this back up. I'm going to do it in a way that I can actually do it in front of us, because the rest of this is not going to be about sound. I mean, it will be. I'm going to put on a bass track, and you're going to go, what the fuck? Is the subwoofer hooked up? And I'm going to be like, no. And then you're going to, I didn't unloop the fucking wire. Which, I have a Kanto wire plugged into this. That explains so much. Because it's just a figure 8 on the power supply. Power supply is 24 volt, 2.5 amp, just like labeled on the thing. You mother. This is welcome to Z Reviews. Here, stare at the wallpaper for a second while I'm doing this. I should print that. That is a real good piece of art. Art. It's fucking art. Put that in a museum. So, energize this. We're now going to... So, if we're going to change settings, we actually have to manipulate this, and we'll read the manual for a little bit first. These have... I don't want to say it's the bassiest speaker, because that's a lie. There are other speakers that have a lot of good low end. What these speakers do, specifically in this position, in this orientation, on top of foam blocks, on top of a big piece of wood I put on top of this plastic table, is it's wild because it vibrates the desk. Like, I've had a ton of speakers up here. Good, big, fucking full towers. I've had my goddamn JBL 530s up here, which are also a 4-inch driver. But none of them actually shake the desk. I'll get to a song where we'll shake the fucking desk. But it's not because it's supported. It's because that passive radiator is physically hammering on the desk as it makes sound. And it's like this wild, visceral sensation of listening to music. And I'm so, like, turned on by that in an audiophile way and a normal male human way. But again, we'll get to it. Go back to here. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is what you're going to have to keep around and print. I screenshotted it. I put it in a folder. This is the decoder ring to make the settings happen on a Vanatoo. I think it's similar on the T1 Encore, but it might be slightly different. So if this was a more modern speaker, because they've been selling these for a while now, and this is now just updated with different amplifiers and improved to DSP. If this was a large company that wasn't Vanatoo and a very small, very specific, you know, couple of engineers, if it was like even bigger than like Kanto or anything like that, there would just be a Bluetooth fucking app. You would app into the phone and you would set your settings and hit save and you'd be done. But we don't have that here. This is much more analog. This is about to get wildly analog. The options you have are to enable or disable sleep mode. So I currently have this still set to all the defaults. All of them. We're going to turn off some of them and I want to see how it behaves because I've been frankly just, I didn't care. I enjoyed everything about it. And I know from my previous reviews that fucking with some of these settings, like limiters, limiters disabled, will make them sound probably better, but also put you at risk of reaching a clip point because fix my goddamn, this is going to kill me the whole time. By the way, these are just held on with blue tack, and I haven't reapplied the blue tack, so you'll have to excuse. I was doing a test for the last 8 months to see if blue tack would hold these on the wall. Turns out, totes will, brah. All of these are held on with just blue tack on cement. Just that one doesn't have enough blue tack anymore. So, the options we can change. Again, we're going to get to sound demos. Look at the timestamps you want to jump. Check out Patreon and Subscribe Star because no one makes it to the end of the video where I tell you about how I need your help with Patreon because everything's gone to shit in 2024. And now 2025 is here and it's probably everything gone to shit ever. So Patreon, Subscribe Star to help support this channel if you want to see these reviews early and get other benefits like yard sales and Q&As, please check that out. And also check Pioneer. So I don't think they need to send me anything else, but thank you to them for Oh, did you know you could do this? Echo, in 40 minutes, turn on 36K basement.
Okay, I'll turn on the 36K basement in 40 minutes.
First of all, you can make her Australian, which is super fucking hot. And lastly, you can tell it to like turn something on for amount of time. So that way I don't forget. Because the last time I did one of these reviews here, I turned that off and I forgot to turn it on. And I'm like, why is it 60? By the way, normally in the basement without the heating, it was 52 degrees Fahrenheit down here. So that's the amount of effort that thing needs to put in. So, okay. Enable or disable sleep mode. I've had it in sleep mode on, so when I sit down at this computer, I set it to SPDIF output, and I hit play, and a video's talking, and there's no sound for 3 seconds. It takes 3 seconds for this thing to get signal and be like, oh, wake up, and go. The difference between sleep mode and not sleep mode is about 4.8 watts. When it's in sleep mode, and it's asleep, it's 1 watt power draw. If you disable sleep mode, so that when you sit down at your computer and you hit go and it's just talking to you and then you get sound immediately, because it can be annoying if like you put them on your TV in your bedroom and you put on a channel and you just caught the beginning of the Super Bowl and it's like, well, John, we're coming into the big. If that's annoying to you, you can disable sleep mode, but it's going to draw 5.8 watts instead of 1 watt. It gets a little warm in the back, but not terrible. Bluetooth enabled or disabled. This can be helpful if you don't want this thing broadcasting its Bluetooth around all the time and your neighbors start stealing it. I think you have to be on the Bluetooth input for it to actually work. I don't think the Bluetooth will trigger. My cousin had a thing where the Bluetooth triggered. And so his neighbor accidentally hooked up with like a tablet and you would hear him like really slow typing on a tablet. It was terrible. Shelved and flat DSPs are something else you could just choose from. Shelved is basically what's going to protect this. It's for up against the wall on a desk. I read the whole thing. And then flat DSP is for a more open studio monitor. And that's what's also going to change if you're going from 125 to the subwoofer or 80. The flat takes these to 80. The shelved is 125. If we plug this in, it'll auto detect and kill all the frequencies below that. You also get to choose between stereo or mono output. So you can make these mono. And I didn't understand that. And then I did understand it because I read the manual, which is written in English by Americans. If you're not from America, it's written in English by Americans. The mono output is specifically if you want to take just this speaker, just the powered speaker, and the power plug, and like use it as a speaker to travel with. You could have it just down mix left and right in stereo things from either Bluetooth or the fiber optic or anything, and just give you left and right signal out of the single speaker. So you're not missing half the conversation. And you could hook up the other speakers, so you'd have mono out of 2 speakers if you really wanted to. It's very specific. This has to be one of them have done this. They've traveled with one of these, put it in their hotel room, which would probably, one of these would probably still sound better than every television ever in a hotel room ever. And so you can do that. You can set it to mono or stereo. I would probably keep it in stereo unless you have that very specific thing you're doing where you want to travel with this and the power brick and Bluetooth to it and just have it be like a, well, I guess, is it still $400 if you're only using one of them? They don't sell it alone, so I guess it still is. Reset to auto input switch mode in sleep. Retain current input selection in sleep. That's very specific. If you, like I have it always on fiber optic. I don't want to have to pick fiber optic. It will auto pick. You have all these optical. It says coaxial as well. So it must have a coaxial digital for the 3.5. How do you do coaxial? How does that work? Huh. Auto, analog, USB, Bluetooth, optical, and this is coaxial. Maybe it's the same button. This might be the same remote they're using for the V1 Encore Plus. And that has a coaxial and this doesn't. Either way. Do you want it to switch or remember? I want it to remember, leave it alone. It tells you, by the way, oh, it's actually set to factory default to auto input switch in mode in sleep. So there you go. So if another thing wakes up, it'll wake up on another input. Limiter is enabled and disabled. Now, this is what we're going to change, and I'm going to give it a listen today. I've been using these things for 2.5 weeks, even though they've been here for a year. And the limiters are literally to keep the speaker from exploding. And it's fine. If you're a newbie and you don't know what you're playing with, please leave the limiters enabled. But I'm a professional asshole, so I want to disable the limiters, which is going to make him sound, if it does anything like the T1 Encores, so much more natural on like quieter, really, really well-recorded low-end things. But then if I put on like kickin' rad fucking Eris music with bass, and I'm not super careful with the volume, you will actually hear the speaker. You'll hit. In other words, you're disabling the limiters. Don't be an asshole. It just lets you just reach a little bit more into the audiophilia of this. You could also, and this is my favorite thing in all speakers, and every fucking powered speaker should have this, active speaker on the right or active speaker on the left. Actually, you know what? Active speaker on the right is the default. So I've been using... Have I not mixed any... I guess I've listened to music on this. I've watched videos, but I haven't noticed it being backwards. So we should reverse that as well. I'm a badophile. A bad audiophile. So let's plug this. All right. So wait. We have the instructions, but now let's read. Let's for wallpaper. Let's read the instructions again on how to do this, because it's kind of like we're getting admitted to Star Trek. Okay. Steps to customize. There's 5 steps and 2 tips. Face down with the grill on while changing the configuration. I agree. I completely agree. We're going to do this. They tell me to do this, I'm doing this. Don't slide off, you bastard. It doesn't slide very well. So you need to have the power unplugged to do this. And then we need to... I'm going to actually disconnect the other speaker so I have a better view of it. So the things we need to work with here are, since there's no power switch, we have to unplug and plug this back in to change the settings. Again, I said, these are engineers figuring out engineering problems and doing engineer things. So, power off the T0 by unplugging the DC power plug. Step 1, done. Find the setting you wish to customize from the chart below, which I'll just open up this thing again. Okay, now we have nothing good from the... Oh, it's still something good from the wall. We want to... Let's reverse the active speaker. So we want active speaker on the left. So now what it's going to tell me to do is find the setting you wish to customize, set the volume knob position and the volume treble bass switch accordingly. So we now have to... The volume treble bass switch... And the volume knob that had the 1, 2, and 3 dots, this is our thing now. These are the things we need to know. So we want an active speaker on the left. We need to be on the bass switch, all the way over there. And we need to be on halfway between 2 dots and 3. There's 2 dots. There's 3 dots. There's halfway between 2 dots and 3. Now... While holding the pair program button, plug it in. Power on LED will flash several times the signal the new configuration is set. All right, so hold this, plug it in. 1, let go. 1, 2, 3. It blinked 3 times. We've changed the setting. Congratulations. We could test that now by doing left and right, but we've got more things to test. So unplug that bitch again. Let's do another one. We're going to go all out. Let's do all out. Flat DSP. We need to be fully on 3 dots. We need to be on the volume setting. And then we do that again. So hold, plug, unplug, or I'll let go. 3 blinks. We're good. Unplug it again. We want to now take off the limiters. Ooh, my exciting part. Volume setting, good. We want to be halfway between 2 and 3 dots again. Why do I get to be on 1 dot? 1 dot is for sleep mode and to reset to default. Okay, so go back there. Volume setting, right? Limiters disabled. Halfway between 2 and 3, volume. Okay. That's it. We shouldn't have to do that again unless we want to change anything fucking else. It doesn't take long to program it. It's just super goddamn weird that that's how you do it. And it doesn't get any less weird. And I'm kind of going to miss it because this takes up a good sizable chunk of this review time. It's like, hey, you just got to talk about all the fucking cool things you get to do. So I'm into it. I'm into this. So now we're going to set the volume. So this is a digital volume. It feels like an analog knob. It goes from 0. Let's just get music playing. Hold on. Ooh, Monogatari. That'll definitely not get me copyright strike. So it's a little slow, which you'll notice like if I do. It's like, because it's digital. And because you can override this with the remote. The remote won't spin the knob, but if I set it... Oh, and then the infrared receiver's down there. So if I lower it, I can lower it to 0. And then if I touch the knob, it comes back up. So let's put this back. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Lordy, Lord, Lord. Oh, I got fingerprints all over it again. Or is that the other side I cleaned? I think that's the side I haven't cleaned. Try to get these lined up visually. I don't hate the covers. They're a little plain Jane, and if you're going to spend $400 on these speakers, I kind of like to see that silver. But very, very strong magnets. Like you could use these as building blocks. Hold those for me, will you, iLoud? Okay, we're good. We're locked in. So now... You can see the blinking amber as I adjust anything on this. If I hit mute, she just blinks. She doesn't indicate she's muted. You hit volume up, she unmutes. If you're playing music, let me get the hell off Monogatari. Muted, touch the knob.
Treat me like a fool.
Oh my fucking God. Literally treat me like a fool. This is The Little Willies Love Me. It's been playing for 4 fucking seconds, and I can tell I've disabled the limiters and done the flat DSP. Because I've been listening to it, I've been enjoying it, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's give these their fair shake. They're $400. They're not cheap, but holy crap, the amount of tech in these. I'm going to be pedantic about the angles and everything. But thank God I'm using the Pocket 2s. These are the DJI Pocket 2s. And so they tell you to leave it at 3/4 and then adjust with the remote. I'm going to go to half and then adjust with the remote. Actually, I'm going to lower my seat just a little bit. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, it's comfy now. These speakers, and I'm reconfirming it because now I've actually unlocked their full potential by doing all the switchy buttons. I can't play any song for longer than it's like 7 seconds before you get a copyright strike if it's a song that they don't like. And so there's a weight to these speakers that other little speakers can't pull off. They just can't. Let's go to some heavy duty classical. I'm just going to raise the... I don't know where I want the volume to be. Most times if this is an inconvenient volume knob, you're going to have to give it the reach around. Like, hey ma'am, could you please do the volume? You're over there somewhere. So I would probably just end up leaving the remote, which is an interesting shape. It's kind of like a used bar of soap. It's flat only here, and it tapers in on top and bottom. I think I've looked at everything on it. There is something you need to know about this, however. This square here, none of this stuff works. Bass, treble, none of it should work until you hit the enable button. So even though it's flashing, let me see if it's actually... Oh, it did work. Oh, maybe I pressed enable. Usually, I'll say this. Usually, none of these things should work until you've hit enable. So you don't accidentally fuck up your mid-range and treble if you have it set perfectly. So you'd have to hit enable first, and then you have 20 seconds to make adjustments, or hit Bluetooth pairing, or the function 1 button, which I don't want to hit that because I don't know what it's going to do. Oh, gotta hit it.
Hey, babe.
It's Richard Cheese. Okay, now it's definitely... So it's flashing when I hit the enable button or not, but it doesn't actually do anything until you hit the enable button. So enable... and then middle treble and enable and bass middle. By the way, when you have it hooked up to a subwoofer, you want to hear how advanced this fucking speaker is? When you have it hooked up to a subwoofer, instead of just generally opening up and saying, oh, more bass here and therefore more bass to the sub, this will now do plus and minus 1 decibel increments to the subwoofer. So if you hook up a sub, and now that we have it set up, this will actually produce 80 hertz if I plug that in, which I've had no urge to plug in a sub with these. None. I did on the Cantoras. I kind of did on the iLouds because I was using the D50 to just split XLR and RCA. None on this. These are fully independent speakers on their own. I probably would hook up a sub, but only now that I've got the shelved DSP on flat or the DSP on flat and not shelved, so that I can get more out of it. Because I think 125 is an insult to these. You'll get a lot more volume. If it's not trying to do anything below 125, you get more volume, but it lacks that like beautiful sound that Vanatoo has critiqued and curtailed over the last 12 years. Did you know my first review, my first real review where a company sent me a thing, was the original set of T1 speakers? And they were $500 at the time. Now they're like $650. But that was amazing. That was like, oh my God, I might actually be able to do a review and be a reviewer. And now look where the fuck I am. So thank you to Vanatoo again. Although they don't get special treatment, I'm still going to complain about some things like, where's my tower speaker? Literally take T1 Encores and just throw 4 more fucking drivers in there, make it this tall, charge $2,000, and give me all that sweet bass. And then I put it in a row and people will be happy. Because when Vanatoo's showing off these speakers at shows, and I'm going to be going to Axpona, where I'll be showing off Valencia and Arius and Magia, and maybe some other interesting things. They always do a room, and they always get the T1 Encores, or the T1 Encore Plus, or the T1 Encore Plus, whatever's in there this year. And they're set up, and they're doing entire rooms with just those little speakers. And they're fantastic. But they really need to make like a flagship monster that's just like T1 Encores with an 8-inch. T2 Encores. I'll be back. Right there. I need a glass of water like in Jurassic Park so you could actually watch the ripples happen. I hear, you know what? We got this. We got cameras. I don't know if you could see. It doesn't look like it's doing much. And it's a little radiator. Zeo's doing this. But it's like there's so much weight to the sound because it's not going with air. And there's a physical hammer attacking the desk. That, by the way, was Vinland Saga Dark Storm. So, oh my God. There's so much. That is a massive tweeter. I just want to point out, that is a 1-inch soft dome for a near field speaker. That is such a nice change. Usually they make them smaller and smaller. I just save on it, because that would be something for like a large, far away speaker. But to make that a nice, just 1-inch soft dome, it's so easy on the ears. Of course, you could jam up the treble and make yourself murder, but it's just so. These speakers are both precise and lightweight, yet all the sounds that are low end are fucking heavy. If you close your eyes, you have no idea what you're listening to. The best way to review these would be to like black curtain, sit people at a table and be like, all right, just use your phone to pick the song and hit next. And I'll be like, all right, we got huge imaging and big sound. The desk is vibrating, so that's at least a 5 1/4, maybe with a pour. No one would expect these. No one would expect these. You know what? I got it. They're American. They'll get this joke. If they were British, they'd also get this joke. The next speaker that Vanatoo makes should be called the Spanish Inquisition. And that would be the whole marketing joke. It would be no one expects the Spanish. Everyone would have to say no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. I don't know how Spain would react to that. You don't have to buy some parts from them so that they're like, all right, it's cool. Oh my God. Zeos, don't forget to reverse the audio. Because the camera's upside down and usually it doesn't matter, but it's going to matter here. These are the only speakers that give the iLouds a run for their money. Mark 1 or 2. If they had room correction, if I hooked up a mini DSP Flex down here, and I did fucking Sonos, what the hell is it? Sonos Works? Sonos Works? I forget what my favorite correction software is. If I room corrected these with their capabilities, there's a good possibility it would be the best sounding desktop speaker ever. And that might be including their big brother. Now that I'm actually like, I wanted to not switch it to like to the flat DSP and the limiters off until the review. I forced myself to enjoy them as hard as I could with the limiters on. And you know what? They were perfectly fine. Perfectly acceptable. Great speakers even. Absolutely worth $400. Probably beating the Cantos. Not in looks. Certainly not in looks. But as far as technical abilities, these win. But now that the limiters are off, and I've sort of like unchained it, it's like when Piccolo takes off that weighted armor in Dragon Ball Z, and he hits the ground and it crushes the rocks, and everyone's like, ah, fuck. That's where we are. I could absolutely keep pushing the volume up until I hear distortion, or in the manual it says there will be a protection circuit will clip on, and it'll literally shut the speakers off for a bit, and then put them back on. I've hit that on the big ones, on the T1s, where I've pushed them real fucking hard, and they've gone, eh. If you find yourself doing that, that's when you put the subwoofer in. If you're pushing it that hard, you need to take some of the load off. And that's where a sub comes in. But for me on this desk, where I'm just doing a lot of, I don't sit down here all the time just enjoying music, but I fucking could. Prodigy has some excellent music, but some of it sounds like shit. Like, I love Nasty, but it's not a good... Hold on, wait. Like, I might be approaching the uncomfortable levels. I'm going to down it a little bit. Beastie Boys, She's Crafty. I shouldn't have to say the names of some of these. You should just know them. If you don't know the songs on my playlist, too goddamn bad. I can't play them long enough for you to use the app, and I can't keep reading names, or else it'd be just like the worst DJ. Here's 6 seconds of Jeremy Soul's Messer from The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. There's actually a song from the Elder Scrolls soundtrack. I didn't play Elder Scrolls. I haven't played like any games in like 30 years. I think I figured out I stopped playing games. I was playing Half-Life. I played those games. And then, what's the one under the water with the thing? With the guys with the big heads and the little girls. I didn't play that one. And once I didn't play that one, I'm like, I got to catch up. I got to play that one. I didn't do it. I don't remember because I didn't play the fucking game. Anyway, there's a track in the Elder Scrolls that's 40-something minutes long. Did I just see it? It's under S for Skyrim Atmospheres. There it is. 42 minutes long. And I've gotten new pairs of speakers and just sat down for 42 minutes. First of all, the low-end rumble. I don't know if you could feel it in the camera, but there's this omnipresent thing with the diffusion panels behind it. And we're against concrete, which, by the way, is a good thing for a sound listening room. We don't want anything here to shake. And concrete doesn't give a fuck. Plus, there's about 7 feet of dirt against it to really hold it in place. Frozen dirt out of that. But there's just like crickets. Birds. And then it starts raining at like 3 minutes. Water waves. Then like howling winds. What I can only describe as the sound of water, but like not rain, and then wind, and then like angry tones. Then just like the desert wind. And then the real bad wind. That's just winter. That's just the sounds of winter. But yeah, the rain and the birds at the beginning, it's just like... You could zen the shit out to that. And I would do it on these Vanatoos. Somehow this song and that wallpaper seems to just work. So, I don't want to keep going on and on and on and on about these speakers. Should they be updated more than just what they've got? Absolutely. I think that would... If they didn't have that weird procedure to adjust things, it'd be fantastic. They're kind of an odd shape. They could commit to making them more normal in a way where this is just always on top, maybe with a cover over it so no one fucks with it. They could just make this a square box, maybe less deep, taller. It's such an alien fucking looking speaker. It obviously works, But I feel like they're just afraid to go and try something new or to really update it. Like, I don't know why the fuck they're using a 10-pin not even a category wire. It's like an RJ50. Like, who does that? Because that's automatically just confusing to someone who has a degree in networking or knows what a networking cable looks like and goes, ooh, and then breaks everything. It should just be, because it only can be for each, that's doing all the amplification. This should just be 4 wires. It should just be one of those screw-in 4 wires. Obviously, they got a good deal on those connectors, and they've been using them for so long, they probably cost them nothing to make that. And they have a proprietary cable they could charge you $30 for. I doubt they're making a lot of money on that. In fact, if they're going full fuck upgrade force, these speakers should have individual power plugs, and they should have wireless connectivity between the two. Audiophile been doing that for years. They could do that. I have faith in them to do that. Their amplification modules are good enough, but I mean, Purify or something from like, if they built in like an Orchard Audio thing to like their big towers, would be amazing. There is a legit measurable, I guarantee if you measured these speakers with the limiters on the shelved DSP, they would measure, good. They measure good. And then you delimit them and it's like, oh, why did I even bother? Why did I bother measuring them? You want a real soundtrack to test things? Mr. Robot. Whoever Mac Quail is, he gets my vote. This shit is haunting. It's haunting and wild, and the names are super weird. This is like blueprints.g3p. It's all file names because it was a hacker show. Oh, that's so good. Anyway, whatever the highest... Whatever the highest praise I can give to desktop speakers, these are getting them. They're not as convenient. They're more convenient than a studio monitor, but barely. So like the volume control's in a bad spot. You do get a remote. It does have Bluetooth. It's got weird connectivity, but as long as you don't fuck up the wire, you're good. If you want to change those options, really you're only changing them once. But they really need a 2025, like, hey, wiping the slate clean, better tactility, front volume controls. If they're doing stuff like that, integrated stands, that isn't just that thing in the back. They've got great engineering, but it's only in the speaker and sound production testing. It's nothing to do with how people are using them and living with them. If they upgrade that, these will sell to normal people. No one normal is buying Vanatoos because they're abnormal. They're abnormal as fuck. They're great and small and they look okay. But if they really like, I don't want to say, I don't want to be the guy on the internet who tells everyone to double their prices on things. But if these were sold for $400, great. If they revamped them and then they're $600, but they look better, better controls, better stand capabilities like mounts, they would sell more. Make your prices, charge more for good products. Take the money that we're going to give you for them and do all the things that we always wanted you to do. All right? People are struggling to keep things super cheap and don't change anything. If you change it, but it's better, we'll pay. We'll all pay for a better thing. Right? I don't want to keep the same thing because if Costco needs to charge $6 for their chickens instead of $5, but it's going to keep the chickens happier and healthier and I'm going to get to eat the good chicken, fucking charge me $6 for the chicken. The $5 number is not that important. I'm not buying 30 chickens a week. It's okay to bring the chickens up $1, Costco. Did you know they built like a giant 1 million chicken plant in Nebraska? It's wild.
First I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could.
That is Lisa Walland, Lahlandt. Lisa Walland, I Will Survive. These speakers... Oh, there we go.
From outer space, I just walk in to find you here.
It's got to be... This has got to be less the limiters and more the shelved DSP coming off and going flat. It's just so clean now. Oh my God. Anyway, these are worth $400. If I'm worth anything, they're worth $400. Patreon and Patreon and subscribe to support this channel. If you'd like to support this channel and see reviews early and participate in yard sales and get to lossless sound demos and old sound demos and new sound demos where the wallpapers could be like that, but less fashionable, check out my $5 tier. There's also a monthly Q&A, which I haven't set up yet for January. $10 a month, private behind-the-scenes Telegram chat, where you could ask me questions directly all the time. So my phone's over there. That's why it's muted, because there's people just asking questions all the time. Don't forget to check out Eris, by the way, also. And you could put good stickers on there if you don't like touching the glass, and the fingerprints on there. If you want to support this channel, I will have merch at some point in 2025. That's my big deal, is to make not just merch, not just expensive merch, but the best fucking merch. I'm going to go into a cold war with Golden Sound and DMS. I want the best merch of the audiophile people. And I don't want it to be like, oh, I don't like Zeos. I want people to feel the fabric and be like, oh, I need to spend $100 on this. Seriously, there's going to be a sweater that I'm going to wear all the fucking time. I've actually been to places and talked to people, and they know more about clothing than I will ever know. They've forgotten more. And it's just nice shit. So yeah, check that out. Wait for my merch. See you at Expona. I'll see you in Munich. The last Munich is happening. Headphones.com is going to put me up in the Adina again. If you haven't been to Munich, this is the last chance you're going to get. It's moving out of Munich. The Munich audio show, Munich High End, will be no more. It'll become the... Where the hell are we moving? Austria? Vienna? It's going to be the Vienna High End, and it's going to be nice, but will their scooters be any good?
Someone who's loving me. Go on now.
Jesus. The Weekend. Oh. I think that's the desk actually shaking. I hear something that sounds like a distortion, and I'm pretty sure it's just some shit on the desk. Is it you? Is it you, Roxy? Are you shaking? Yeah, so careful with your dead mouse. That's Monophobia, the Sane remix. Yeah, thank you all for being part of this channel throughout the years, and thank you all for supporting me, because you guys are it. I don't do NordVPN sponsorships. If you see me doing those, I've lost all my patrons. So I apologize in advance, because I might have to do those. Wallpaper, always in the wallpaper horde, along with every wallpaper. And I will do a sound demo for these and catch you all where those are, and see you all in the next one. How's your 2025 going so far? Mine's going all right. It's just all right.